Hello, my name is Leif Thompson, and I'm a family doctor all the way over from Fairbanks, Alaska. Today we celebrate a ruling from a German court that established that boys also have a right to be protected from bodily harm. This year's theme for the Worldwide Day of Genital Autonomy is equality, which makes this ruling truly something to celebrate. But sadly, within a few short months of this ruling, it was taken away again by the German parliament. Genital cutting was again allowed, uniquely for boys alone, leaving protections only for girls. In Germany, the United States, and every nation in this world, boys do not have a right to their own bodies. In this year, 94 countries in the world have legal protections for girls, 13 for intersex children, but there are no legal protections for boys. So today, when I reflect on equality, I'm thinking of the disparities that boys face in our world, especially when they are deliberately left out of human rights discussions and are neglected by our laws and our institutions. Genital autonomy is not a gender-based right. It is a human-based right. It is the right to choose what is done to one's own genitals and to choose with whom to share them. Simply said, it is my body, my choice. But if it is a fundamental human right to have our genitals protected from those who would cut us, it should not depend on the shape of one's genitals at birth. Currently, we arbitrarily exclude those born with penises from any legal protections. We can't call genital autonomy a human right if it excludes half of all humans. By sheer numbers, boys and men are the group most affected by forced genital cutting. Roughly 30% of the world's boys have their foreskins amputated without their consent, and roughly 1.2 billion men in the world have the most sensitive part of their genitals missing. International efforts to eradicate forced genital cutting continue to almost exclusively be focused on girls. Meanwhile, we are only just beginning to recognize the rights of intersex children. But the time is overdue for us to move to a more inclusive vision, a world where all children, girls, those born intersex, and boys are all afforded the same protections. Equality is the establishment of an ethical and legal structure that does not favor or disadvantage anyone based on sex. If we believe in the value of equality, the shape of a child's genitals is irrelevant to their right to have parts of their genitals protected. Large NGOs like the WHO and the UN, along with numerous governmental organizations, all with mandates to protect all children, use their institutional power to actively exclude boys from their efforts to end forced genital cutting. This exclusion is not based on logic or ethical principles. It's not based on anatomical differences or similarities or the sexual functions of what is to be amputated. It is instead based on a desire to protect the practices of specific religious and cultural groups that are more familiar and vilify others that are more distant. But it is also based on a gender bias resulting from patriarchal systems, which view male and female bodies differently. We have constructed a patriarchal mythology that maleness equals power, and a man should be strong and impervious to harm, and if he is not, well, he should be. Adult men who were involuntarily cut as children cannot be seen as victims. When men seek help for what had been done to them at a time when they could not say no, they are often discounted, ignored, or even shamed. Or when they speak publicly, they are blamed for taking attention away from women and girls. For adults living with missing parts of their genitals, the parts of their bodies designed to give pleasure, it is only a profound loss. But we only recognize this loss for women. Meanwhile, the circumcision of boys and men is often seen as something to joke about. Think about it. Would we ever make a joke about female genital mutilation? Meanwhile, it's still culturally acceptable to make jokes about circumcision, even while many boys and men experience this as trauma and loss. Why is it that men are made to feel shame for speaking about this? We also distort our reality to think that boys somehow cannot be victims. But boys are just as powerless as girls are when adults hold them down and cut their genitals. The truth is that a boy suffers from violence to his body just like a girl. Boys feel pain and they bleed and they have infections just like a girl. Suffering from violence is not gender specific. Yet even when far more boys are held down to have their genitals cut, it is only considered gender-based violence when it happens to a girl. Why do we believe that holding down a boy and cutting his genitals is somehow not violence? In my advocacy work, I see the harms that boys and men have suffered as a result of something they did not choose. I hear of the psychological and sexual damages of boys who have lost their entire penis and will never be able to have a sexual relationship, or boys who die from bleeding and infection, even in developed nations. I hear of suicides of those who cannot deal with their trauma and loss. And as a Jewish man, I hear of the men who can never fully feel a part of their religion or culture because of the feelings of betrayal. Yes, girls and women suffer from genital cutting, but boys and men suffer too. When I claim that every child deserves a strong protection for their bodies, regardless of sex, that does not mean that we should pay any less attention to the forced genital cutting of girls or intersex children. Advocating for human rights is not a zero-sum game. Saying that we need to protect all children does not mean that we stop protecting girls. To the contrary, I believe that including boys in our discussion will make our efforts not only more egalitarian, it will make our efforts stronger. When we include all children equally in our discussions, we can finally make the claim that human rights are universal and not based on an antiquated patriarchal construct of gender. Our efforts will be stronger because the concept of human rights and genital autonomy will finally and truly be based on a foundation of equality. Here's the vision I would like to leave you with today. Every child is born with a beautiful, unique, and very private flower of their very own. This flower that they and only they can choose to change or not to change when they are ready. It is a flower that they and only they can choose to share or choose not to share when they are ready. It does not matter if the shape of the flower is a penis or a vulva or something else. What truly matters is that it is the child's private flower, not anyone else's. My vision is that every human that ever will be born gets to say, my body, my choice. And our job is to protect these children and their beautiful private flowers from anyone that would claim them for their own purposes and violate what is not theirs. My vision is of a world where all children can grow up to be free from violence to their bodies, regardless of the shape of their genitals. Thank you.